My name is Debbie Dawkins. I'm the Vice President of Centerville-Washington Foundation. I'll be assisting in today's festivities. We come together to celebrate 26 years of giving back to the community and to highlight this year's Founders Honoree, Richard Carr. To get us started, please welcome the Foundation's President, Brendan Cunningham.
Good afternoon and welcome. Today's event would not be possible without the support of the Centerville-Washington Foundation Board. Board members, please stand when I read your name, but please hold your applause until all are standing. Aaron Agarwal, Mike Beavis, Scott Caldwell, Debbie Dawkins, Honorable Bob Hansman, Carol Kennard, Chris McAlpin, Kevin McDonald, Kate Tragenstein, Kelly Ewell, Chris Wysong, Mamli Anem, and our emeritus board members, Jack Lobeck and Richard Carr. Next, we would like to acknowledge our community leaders, elected and appointed officials, and administrators. Please stand when I read your name, but hold applause until all are standing. Centerville-Washington History, Cynthia Burns. Centerville-Washington Park District, Kristen Marks. City of Centerville, Mayor Brooks Compton. Maria Vogelsang. Centerville Public Library, Barbara Dennison, Liz Foltz, and from Washington Township, Brian Lunny, Scott Paulson, Gary Smiga, Mike Thornso, Mark Metzger. Thank you for your leadership. We are fortunate to have in attendance past Founders Honorees. Please help me welcome Charles Goodwin, Brady Kress, Paul Stoll. Thanks to the generous support of our sponsors, the Centerville-Washington Foundation is able to give back to our community. Please review the list of sponsors on the program and give them thanks when you see them. We would like to recognize our top sponsors of today's events. The Founders level, Eamon Mahan Furry, and our Platinum level sponsor, Mr. Gary Ahman. And please give a special thanks to Miami Valley Communication Council and Richard Diaz for their taping of today's program, Mike Beavis for his wonderful photographs of today's event, Lucy Baker, our representative at the Dayton Foundation, and Kelly Ewell for our beautiful centerpieces. At this point, if I haven't called your name, go ahead and recognize yourself and applaud. Founded in 1988, the Centerville-Washington Foundation has been providing grants in the areas of education, poverty, environment, arts, health, diversity, and social services for the past 26 years. Since our inception, we have reached new giving levels annually and are now approaching $500,000. We are so grateful to the generosity and support of the individuals and businesses who help build a better community. We accomplish this using generous donations from individual contributors, corporate sponsors, and legacy donors. I hope you had a chance to visit with our 2024 Community Support Grant recipients, Pink Ribbon Good, Breast Wish Foundation, Centerville Community Chorus, Food to Go, First Dawn Food Pantry, Centerville-Washington History, Closet Transformations, the City of Centerville, and the Heart of Centerville and Washington Township. This year, the foundation awarded the Community Impact Grant to Adaptive Sports Ohio, an organization that gives people with physical disabilities the opportunity to play sports through minor adaptations to the game and specialized equipment. The $10,000 grant was used to help fund the first ever wheelchair basketball co-ed league at Centerville High School. Please welcome Liz Followay from Adaptive Sports Ohio to share about their funded project. Liz?
Well, good afternoon. I'm excited to be here. I just want to say on my behalf and also everyone at Adaptive Sports Ohio, thank you so much for believing in our mission and for supporting us. You know, we're an outside organization. Adaptive Sports Ohio is based in Northeast Ohio, where we've been for 15 years, but we're very state-minded in our focus. We believe that everyone deserves a chance to play sports. So applying to the Centerville-Washington Foundation, it's like, are we even going to get entertained? We're not from this community, but the foundation read our application, invited us to present, and invested in our program. And because of that, we were very excited to talk about what has happened in Centerville and what's happening outside of this area, just because you believed in us and invested in our mission. So a little bit about the organization. I've already shared 15 years. I'm the founder, CEO. My son was born with a physical disability called spina bifida, and he's now 27 years old. But when he was small, he very much wanted to participate in sport, but we didn't know how because he needed to use a wheelchair every day. It was another community organization in Indiana that exposed us to adaptive sports. And from there, it changed my son's life. It changed my perspective on what it was like to live with a disability. And not just give him the opportunity to participate in physical activity, but really open up his eyes and my eyes to what the future could hold. So when we moved back to Ohio, we wanted to continue that. And that's what we set out to do, but not just through community-based sport, but through sports inside the schools. If we can just teach schools how to include students with physical disabilities, give them the support and the education that they need and those resources, we can watch students with disabilities in our community thrive. And that's what we have here with our school-based program. It is now 9 years in existence. We started in Worcester. Unfortunately, my son had graduated after we started the first school-based sport, but he still very much is involved today. We have 13 teams that are participating as of the end of this school year, and Centerville being one of those new teams. We're looking to grow that in the upcoming years. But a little bit about the grant. We asked for $10,000 so that we could buy an enclosed trailer. Again, talking about providing those resources to Centerville. They were already on board for starting a wheelchair basketball team. And from an organization's perspective, how do we get them 10 to 15 basketball chairs? How do they support that financially, and how do they move those chairs around? So in the back on our table, you'll see there's a basketball sport chair displayed. Please come by and check that out. Those chairs are quite expensive. When we're looking at an investment of chairs and a trailer in a school district, we're talking $50,000 that's needed for us to equip a school so that they can provide students with physical disabilities in their district a chance to play. So the grant that we received from the foundation used to purchase an enclosed trailer and also use some of that to support the purchase of chairs. Back in the fall is when our season started, and we had the opportunity to go to 3 different school buildings within Centerville and give all students a chance to try wheelchair basketball. We use that as a recruiting tool, but also to teach kids without disabilities empathy and recruit them perhaps to play as one of the 5 non-disabled athletes that can participate in the team. But as you can see on the screen here, we had a really great turnout and great awareness from Centerville School District, and our school resource officer participated in wheelchair basketball too. Everyone wants to get involved. It's so much fun. Here's a picture of the Centerville Elks team. How awesome. First year, huge team, great success, and great success from the community. I don't know if you had a chance to go to the final home game that was on February 9th for the Centerville Elks. And fortunately for us, we do have a pretty heavy Northeast participation in our interscholastic wheelchair basketball league because that's where we're from. But fortunately for us, we have Beaver Creek that was here and started first, so it made it easier for Centerville to start. And they've been able to play each other in a number of games. But What a rivalry. They're very close competitors. And that final game on February 9th, the crowd was packed. And it was exciting to watch the community come out and support this team, to treat them like athletes. And I was in the crowd for that game as well. And what happened at the end of the game was very, very, very special. So this is a video I captured on my cell phone. And as you can see, at the end of the game, everyone from the crowd, it was first the student section came and lined the baseline. But by the time these kids start wheeling through and they're giving high fives to the student section, almost the entire gym is lined with fans just to applaud them and congratulate them on a well-played game. And some of these kids would have never, ever experienced that had it not been for the foundation investing in this opportunity. I get choked up watching it, and I had to stop it too because I didn't get all the way around the room. But what a testament to this community, to embrace the team the way that you have, for believing again in an outsider to come and bring this program here, and then watch you guys take it over and just really support it is super exciting. And because that seed has been planted, we also are in touch with other schools in this nearby community to grow wheelchair basketball and give more kids like Ellie a chance to play. So I want to say thank you again from the bottom of my heart for investing in us and that substantial grant to get us going. I was talking with Charles earlier, you know, what you guys, we as community leaders, as community investors, you're set apart, right? Some people just live and others live to give. So thank you for what you've done.
Thank you, Lisa. We are pleased to be able to support such a worthy project. The past year began with the launch of the Foundation's newest initiative, the Diversity Grant. The mission of the Diversity Grant is to support projects and cultivate equity and inclusion by encouraging thoughtful dialogue with a focus on elevating and addressing demographic diversity. The Washington Centerville Public Library was the first recipient of the $5,000 grant. And the library's patron services manager, Bill Menaker, is here to share more about how they're using those funds.
That was a great presentation, Lisa. Tough act to follow. Good afternoon again. My name is Bill Menker. I'm the Patron Services Manager of the Washington Centerville Public Library. I'm here on behalf of our director, Liz Foltz, who extends her apologies for not being able to attend today. I first want to say that it's a pleasure to be here today to help honor Richard after he spent years on the library board as a trustee. Thank you, Richard, for all you've done for the library. So last fall, the library received a diversity grant from the Centerville-Washington Foundation. We were flattered to be the first recipient of that grant for $5,000. Public libraries have a long history of serving diverse populations, so this grant seemed to be an excellent fit for the work that we do. It's been said that bad libraries build collections, good libraries build services, but great libraries build community. We strive to be a great library, and the funding from this grant provides us the ability to further engage with our community. It supports our mission to inspire lifelong enrichment through diverse opportunities for connecting and creating. Since the Centerville and Washington Township community continues to grow and diversify, we choose expanding cultural literacy as the focus for this grant. Our goal for this grant was threefold. We wanted to make more foreign language materials available, increase awareness of what the library offers, and help to increase tolerance of cultural differences. Library services have evolved dramatically over the past several decades to include more than just books. And I talked to some of you this morning at our display over there about the types of things we do now. Non-English speaking residents may not be aware of all the resources available to them. So using grant funds, we have translated some of our marketing brochures for new patrons into Chinese and Arabic, which are two of the most common languages identified by the Centerville City Schools as needing translation. We will make these brochures available on our website, but also in outreach efforts such as distribution to families through the schools. We're also using grant funds to purchase materials for children to use to learn different languages. Copies of Vox books, which are books with an audio read-along component, will be purchased in 14 different languages. We will also renew our subscription to Lote for Kids, which is an online database of digital books for children in more than 60 languages with English translations. There's a programmatic aspect with this grant as well. In June, we are offering a workshop for teens on writing a memoir. Dr. Curry with the nonprofit Make Tank, Inc. is conducting the sessions. She is the director of the Illustrated Memoir Project and has worked extensively with immigrant and refugee youth to document their stories. We're working on scheduling other program opportunities for adults to talk about the important topic of increasing understanding of others and tolerance for diversity. Thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on the work we've been doing as a result of receiving this grant. Please be on the lookout for more information as we finalize our offerings. For any other questions, you can direct them to our director, Liz Foltz, or to Debbie Dawkins. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. One last item to mention. Please take notice of the postcard at your seat with the QR code to view our annual report, along with the save the date for our first ever Hops and Props event to be held at the Wright Brothers Airport on September 21st. We hope that you can join us for that fun evening. Now I will turn things back over to Debbie Dawkins to help us honor Mr. Richard Carr.
Thank you, Brendan. A long-standing figure in the Centerville-Washington Township community, Richard Carr is a respected attorney at law and an active and dedicated volunteer. As noted earlier, Richard is past board member of the Centerville-Washington Foundation and an emeritus board member. We are grateful for his leadership in shaping the future of the foundation, his unwavering commitment and his relentless dedicated efforts in fostering civic engagement and mentorship have left an indelible mark on our community and beyond. I'd like to draw your attention to the special cookies on the table. The cookies represent three of Richard's interests: swimming, to commemorate Richard's milestone of swimming 385 miles last year. And he made it back. Cycling, to celebrate Richard's dedication to biking and the fact that he is a 7-time champion of the over 50 division of the Tour de Donut cycling race. And finally, a village, to honor those who have helped shape who he is today, and to represent the supportive and loving community of Centerville and Washington Township. Today, we'll have speakers in person and on video to honor Richard and his contributions to our community. Thanks to Terry O'Brien from Tri-Level Productions for creating the video you're about to see. Integrity, honesty, intelligence, humor, and a commitment to improving his community are the defining traits of this year's honoree. The Centerville-Washington Foundation is proud to recognize Mr. Richard L. Carr, Jr. as its 20th annual founder.
Community.
Exuberant. He just fills a room when he walks in.
A true professional. In the legal world, in the charitable world, he's always on top of his game.
I would say organized and focused, actually 2 words, because Richard, he has a schedule, and everything is part of a schedule. Very little is left up to chance. He always has a schedule. So I would say organized is probably his number one attribute.
In selecting an honoree for the 26th Annual Founders, the Centerville-Washington Foundation looked no further than its own backyard. Former Foundation board member Richard L. Carr, Jr., family man, friend, notable attorney, athlete, and community advocate, was the overwhelming choice for this year's award. In his days at Centerville High School, Richard was a member of a very successful debate team, winning nearly 20 out of 20 ballots. He admits that he has always been a bit argumentative. He then attended Michigan State University for undergrad and Boston College, where he earned his law degree. Learning to argue is easy, he said, but learning to cooperate is harder.
Richard and I are avid swimmers, and if you want to see real enthusiasm and make Richard smile, just ask him about his annual swimming stats. Nothing makes him happier than to report where he is swimming, how many days and hours he has spent swimming, and the number of laps he has swum to date.
But I'm going to talk a little bit about a story of his competitiveness and his creativity. It's a 30-mile race, and it's got 2 checkpoints. And you eat as many donuts as you can, and for every donut you eat, you get 5 minutes taken off your race time. So he came up with a masterful piece of work. He got in the kitchen, he took a big pot, he took a spaghetti strainer and a potato masher and a couple 2-liter bottles of Diet Coke. And the way this worked was you took the Diet Coke and you filled the pot, half, 2/3 of the way full. And then you took the strainer and you shredded up the donuts and you immersed them down into the Diet Coke. And you took the potato masher and you made donut mash. It looks like the Boston Marathon. There's over 1,000 bikes in this race. And I'm thinking, and he's won this race? And he gave me 3 things that I needed to remember. The first one was, get the donuts very quickly to where I'm going to pull in. The second one is go through the big stack of boxes and pick out all the small donuts. And then the third thing is find a race official and make sure that that race official is right standing there by me and marks on my riding vest the number of donuts that I have eaten. Pretty soon I see Richard and his team coming. And Richard's slumped over his bike. His eyes are looking forward. He can't speak. He gets off the bike and roars, "Where's the donuts?" I point where the donuts are. He goes, "Take my bike and get it to the very end of the checkpoint so I don't have to go through the crowd." So I run the bike up to the end of the checkpoint. By the time I got back, Richard had inhaled 8 or 9 donuts. I got up to him, the official marked all the numbers, and he ran up to his bike and he was cleaning himself off with a towel on the way. While he put his helmet on, I got the goo off his handlebars from the previous checkpoint, and off they went toward the finish line. I turned around to pick the equipment up. Half the people were in awe what happened. The other half of the people weren't sure what happened.
Without question, the best man in town on yard signs. He has been known to put the signs on all of the frames, some one by one, and as many as 250 by himself. Then he announces to the committee that the signs are available for pickup at his garage, ready for posting on lawns. He has made deliveries to committee volunteers' homes. He knows the best locations and posts signs there. And for the election, after the election, he is quick to pick up the litter. It is hard for me to imagine a big-time downtown lawyer in the prime of his career who literally runs the bicycle, doing grunt work alone, all by himself, in his garage after dark. He's my kind of guy.
Richard and Eileen began their family in those early years. Richard built his law practice, became a mentor, and his village slowly developed. Richard was a member of the Centerville-Washington Foundation Board, where he particularly valued collaborating with Carol Kennard and Judy Buddy. He managed event contracts and authored the scripts for the annual meeting and founders events over many years. His commitment to the community is widespread. For 39 years, he has actively supported Centerville's mock trials, providing challenges, instruction, and mentorship to youth in speech and debate.
Richard served on the library board for 17 years, from 2005 to 2022. He was instrumental in getting 2 library levies passed, supporting the creation of the Friends of the Library and the renovation and expansion of the Woodburn Library. When you want something done, you want Richard on your team.
Richard was absolutely fantastic as president of the foundation. There's a special skill in this world, and it's called running a meeting efficiently. And that was Richard to a T. If the meeting was to last an hour, you were done in 58 minutes.
Richard Carr is a staunch proponent of civic engagement within diverse communities and has played a key role in numerous levy campaigns, offering legal and technical expertise. He takes particular pride in his contributions to the Board of Trustees for the Washington Centerville Public Library. A cherished memory from his tenure on the library board is participating in the renovation of Woodburn Library, a place he fondly remembers visiting by bicycle in his youth. A dedicated member of the Dayton Bicycle Club, Richard's enthusiasm extends to professional wrestling, specifically the WWF, which he enjoys for its scripted drama.
Richard, get ready to rumble.
Richard, get ready to rumble.
Richard, let's get ready to rumble.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Richard, I'm very proud of you. You're very deserving of this award. I've always called you the pillar of the community, and I think the rest of the community has now recognized my thoughts over the last years.
Richard, I hope you keep practicing law for the indefinite future. Richard, I'm 79. I'm still working, and I hope you work well into the future. You're a credit to the legal profession. God bless you.
He is a religious man. He's a family man. He has all the good qualities, and he spends his time in the community, and that's great.
Integrity, honesty, intelligence, humor, and a commitment to improving his community are the defining traits of this year's honoree. The Centerville-Washington Foundation is proud to recognize Mr. Richard L. Carr, Jr. as its 20th annual founder. I'd be remiss if I didn't let you know that Bob Daly, a former member of the foundation board, is dealing with health issues and cannot be with us today. He asked that I relay his congratulations and affection for his longtime friend, Richard Carr. And Bob writes, "Dear Richard, I regret not being there with you this afternoon. If I were, I'd be piling on during the roast." Bob. Well, that was a wonderful video. Let's please thank the speakers once again and Terry O'Brien. Our live speaker today is Zach Heck, a former Centerville High School student who oversees the mock trial program at the school and was mentored by Richard as he stepped into that role. Please welcome Zach.
All right, well, thank you very much for having me. When Richard asked me to speak 5 months ago, I was racking my brain about, okay, what's a great story that I can tell? Because I'm a lawyer, Richard's a lawyer. Lawyers love stories. And the great thing about stories from lawyers is that occasionally they're true. But a story doesn't really capture who Richard is as a friend, as a mentor, and as a role model. Instead, Richard is more of a presence in our community, a valuable, loved presence. And his philosophy that I'm sure when he gets up here and talks, and you've already heard alluded to today, is this idea of fostering your village, of building up your village and allowing villages to guide and grow and develop our children. And villages like what we have here in Centerville and Washington Township, we have these smaller villages, right? You have your churches, you have your sports teams, your schools, your nonprofits, your charities. Sometimes villages don't get along, sometimes there's conflict, but what every village has in common is that they are invested in making their community a better place than what they grew up in, even if it was already a wonderful and valuable community. Now, Richard graduated from Boston College Law School in the 80s. He could have gone anywhere that he wanted to go. He had a ticket to Wall Street, to a white shoe firm on the coast, but instead, Richard decided to come back home. And instead of just going to work and being the man in the flannel suit, he decided to give back to his community, to find ways to volunteer and to find ways to make his community a better place. And I benefited from that. I've known Richard for over 20 years. Despite my youthful demeanor, I'm capable of knowing someone for 20 years. And I first knew Richard as Richard III's dad. But where I really got to know Richard is as my coach for mock trial at Centerville High School. And what mock trial is it's an opportunity for students at schools all across the state to take a court case with witnesses, a fact pattern, and litigate that case against other schools. And I know what you're thinking about why Richard would get involved in this. He obviously wants there to be more lawyers in this world because there's not nearly enough as there is. That's what I thought when I joined, and I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. But what I learned is that Richard's philosophy in coaching a mock trial team has absolutely nothing to do with encouraging kids to become a lawyer or become a judge. In fact, he will tell many kids, run as far away as you can from the law. But Richard's philosophy of what the mock trial program can do boils down to 3 main pieces. Skills that students learn that can benefit them regardless of whatever profession they go into. First, they are taking a very complicated, nuanced set of materials, and they have to absorb it. They have to process it. They have to understand it. These are fact patterns that law students are interacting with and learning, and even first-year attorneys may be confronted with. And they're doing this at the high school level. So it's difficult, high-level material. They then have to interact with that material. They have to form arguments. They have to defend those arguments against scrutiny. And then third, they have to be able to communicate what they've processed and advocate based off of that. And those are skills that any profession, any career that you have, that's going to be valuable because those are the skills that help you overcome barriers to entry. Now, Richard's been involved in the Centerville Mock Trial Program for over 39 years. Can you think of anyone that has committed themselves to any program, any job, for that long. It's so rare today. And in that time, I've been coaching it for 16 years, and I've coached 150 students. So Richard's coached at least 300. And they have gone on to be some lawyers like myself, but doctors, teachers, psychiatrists, musicians, parents. And what they have all taken with them is a desire, a fuel to give back to their community in the way that Richard has given back to them and that they've benefited from. And what Richard has done is not only is he a coach, but through his presence, through his example, he serves as a role model. In high school, we have all these kids that come onto the team, and we've got a lot that are on the honor roll, many that are in varsity sports. But the best stories, the best students that I found, are the ones that just don't really fit in anywhere, or the students that come because they're looking for some place to belong because the grades from their classmates, or the stats on a scoreboard, or the social media that they're inundated with day after day tells them that they're unremarkable. And they're looking for a place where they can belong, where they can grow, and where they can learn something from pillars of our community. And Richard has fostered this program, has developed this program that not only teaches students how to communicate, how to absorb that nuanced set of materials, but also makes those students understand that they do belong and that they can go from what society or what their peers may label them as unremarkable kids into truly remarkable adults. And that relationship doesn't have to end at a high school graduation. I've been fortunate that Richard has continued to mentor me throughout my entire life. When I graduated high school and thought maybe I want to be a lawyer, he gave me an opportunity to have a job at his law firm. Many of his partners are right here today that I got to learn from to see, what does a lawyer do in a day? Right? Is it always showing up in court? Is it yelling at people on a phone? Instead, what I was tasked with doing was filing papers. I could sit in on client calls, client meetings, hearings, trials, and really get a sense of whether or not this is something that I want to devote my life to, if this is the career that I want to choose. And every step of the way, Richard was there for me. When I took the law school admissions test and was convinced that I had failed on the drive home, Richard called me, encouraged me, told me, I'm sure you did better than what you think, and sure enough, I did. When I was in law school trying to figure out how do you study for these exams when there's so much pressure, when there's so much stress, he gave me a process. He reaffirmed how I can absorb a complicated, nuanced set of materials, interact with that, and through the format of a test, communicate what I've learned and advocate through that. But most importantly, what I observed when I was working at Richard's firm, what I saw almost through osmosis is that in a profession that rewards and almost glorifies workaholics, you can also be devoted to your family. You can also be devoted to your faith. You can make time for your community. And so I chose to come back home to the Dayton area so that I can give back. And it's because of that inspiration through Richard that I decided to come back and coach the high school mock trial team, that I joined my first nonprofit board of directors with Sixa, who's over there in the back corner. I learned through Richard's example, and that is what this organization's honorees are really all about, is about setting a standard, becoming a role model for others to benefit, to be able to build up that village. And so I am so grateful for Richard's example, for his time, and for his energy and enthusiasm for this community. Thank you, Richard, for being a role model, a mentor, and a friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. That was wonderful. We appreciate those stories. And now, a rebuttal. Mr. Carr.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Didn't see some of that coming. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody for being here, and especially thank you to the committee. There was a reference to running a good meeting. No one runs a better meeting than Judy Buddy. Judy Buddy is one of the people I learned from, for sure. But thank you to everybody. And first and foremost on thanks to Eileen. Thank you. Please stand. Please stand. I'll introduce the rest of my family. Hold the applause to the end. We have rules here. So my son Richard is up from Austin. His wife Rachel, son Samson, and son Gaius are in Austin, but he has Lucius with him. We also have my son Simon, who is in Maine. Rachel is here with her partner Carter. They're up from Cincinnati. And my sister, Cynthia Filardo, who flew in from Florida. Thank you very much. I think my themes are already out there, but I'm going to say a few things about the village, our villages, our neighbors, and our village parents. I want to start by saying my family moved here in 1969. Some of you may have already seen the slide. There we are, or 68, and that's the pictures from 69. And at that time, Centerville was still a village, and we were told that later in the year it would become a town. And as a third grader, I had no idea what that meant. And in some ways, I still don't know what that means. You know, slight shift in the form of government. And maybe it more reflects that I don't understand cities. I don't understand towns. I understand villages. I understand groups of people. And what I mean by a village is a group of people who gather over time, who share and support each other. That could be a geographic neighborhood. It could be like the Centerville-Washington Foundation. It could be a community organization. We've got these wonderful organizations in the back. Could be a sports program. Certainly the faith communities, our churches, those are all, in my view, villages. And I would urge you to think about those places as villages. That's what I'm recommending to your thinking. My first village was St. George's Church. St. George's Church was where we went first. And to the extent that I've done anything right, it was based upon the grace that I experienced and continue to experience at St. George's. And one of the fundamental concepts is that we are all neighbors, and part of our calling is to love and care for our neighbors. And I got that there. Our next village was a Platte, Pembroke Platte. My wife hates the word Platte. She's from New York. I'm a Midwesterner. We have Plattes, okay? And I'm still connected to the people in the Pembroke neighborhood. The Boyces, the Houstons, the Schultzes, the Thees, the Taylors, the Heckmans. And it was a wonderful village. Still is. In middle school, newspaper quoted me as saying it was less than rigorous. I actually said, and we said this at the time we were there, and I've got a couple buddies who were there with me, 3 years of semi-retirement. Ouch. We had a great time. It's a better school now. Middle school is better now, okay? When you ever hear old people say, oh, the schools were really great back when I was a kid, you'll never hear that from me. You know. And one of those villages in middle school was football. And my friend Bob Crawford is with us today, and we played football. And one of the other villages was Boy Scouts, Troop 650. Our slogan was, if 650 can do it, anyone can. And Carl Schaub is with us today. Carl, thanks for being here. But then high school came along. And for me, high school started at Madzik Building, because Madzik and South Building, that was the high school. And high school was transformative. And it was mainly transformative because of Ralph Bender. Ralph Bender was legendary speech coach at Centerville. And there are Bender children in this room today, including Brady Kress, Scott Avery, Dan Hood, and the mock trial children through our Bender children as well. And fundamentally, you've heard Zach teach about the lessons that mock trial inspired. That's the same thing that Ralph taught. That was all directly from Ralph. But to explain how he taught us to communicate, I'm going to call upon one of Ralph's students, who is also one of my students, Tim Snyder, who is a full professor of history at Yale and a world-renowned historian, and has been on every major talk show, an amazing guy. And this is what Tim had to say.
But the most important thing that I wanted to say about Mr. Bender, and the thing which has stayed with me and which has been not only important to the rest of my career, but I think necessary for the rest of my career, was his idea of communication. If you are young and you think you're smart, probably all you think you need to add to your intelligence is lots of hard work. You have the idea, if for example you're a debater, that all you have to do is be right and have lots of evidence. It's okay to be right, and it's important to have evidence. But what Mr. Bender tried to teach, and what I eventually understood, is that communication involves the other person. It's a very simple idea, but it's actually rather profound. That if you're going to take the trouble to try to communicate anything in any format, you have to start not from where you are, but from where the other person is. And the way that Mr. Bender tried to illustrate this very simple but actually rather challenging idea is to imagine whether, when the person gets up from his or her seat at the end of your speech, whether they have in some sense changed, whether they will now make slightly different decisions having heard what you have to say. That was the test. So for Mr. Bender, I had this idea of communication, so simple, but also so demanding and so profound, and for me, profoundly helpful.
I'm going to try and hit that standard today, and I urge you to think about your villages. So after law school, I came back, and Ralph Bender, I got to step away from the microphone because I'm going to speak a little louder. And I'll try and do Ralph's voice. He said, Dick, we got a new program. You're going to help me coach. It's called Mock Trial. Well, I can't say no to Ralph Bender. And I was head coach for 7 years. I helped coach a little bit in the following years. Bob Peterson, who now coaches at Alter, took over the program. Fred Dressel I got back into the program, then Fred Dressel came in, Zach Heck came in, and Alyssa Goss now runs the program along with Jordan Jennings, two great lawyers in charge of that now. But it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing to help raise those children. So what was most important to me about coming back was to be in this community, this collection of villages, and I had wonderful village fathers. I'll name a few: Dick Snell, Harry Ebling, Dick Tapia, Bobby Joe Cox, Ralph Stahl, Bob Daly, Ted Shank, just to name a few. But the people who made the biggest difference in my life, in my community, other than my family, were my village mothers. And those included Betty Bush, Janet Thobabin, and I knew her long enough ago, she was Thobabin when she was my middle school teacher. Jane Gallion, Esther Wright, we have a slide for Esther. Faye Layden, Wally Harold, Martha Boyce, and Joyce Young. And with us today, I have two village mothers with us today. From St. George's, Sue Stahl. Sue, would you please stand up? And from the Tranquil Trail neighborhood, which is the Bakers, the Gallnetzes, the Claude Pierres, the Schultzes, and the Beals, we have Eileen Baker. I'm so blessed to have those village mothers. If you want to know how to serve, don't ask me. Don't follow my advice. Listen to your village mothers. Find your village mothers and maybe your village fathers. They'll support you. They'll guide you. They'll gently correct you when you're wrong. And at times, your villages will break your heart. Things will go wrong. There will be conflict. Life will be difficult. But rely on those village parents, and I thank them so much. And now that I'm old, I am old. I know that I'm a village parent, and maybe even a village grandparent, because my village child, Zach Heck, has passed on the mock trial program to other kids. And now I tell those mock trial children that I am their village grandparent. I am their mock trial grandfather. At first, they're moderately confused, but they figure it out. So make the time. Guide your children, guide the children of the village, guide your grandchildren. Never retire from loving and serving your villages. And thank you. And please think about your villages.
Wow, what a great speech.
Thank you.
Richard's passion, dedication, and selflessness have enriched countless lives throughout our community, set an example for generations to come. It has been our honor to recognize Richard this year. Richard, we thank you, and the community thanks you for all that you do. The foundation would like to present you
Just so it's not donuts.
No donuts. That's a great story, by the way, though. With this championship belt, so that everyone knows you're ready to rumble. Each year, we donate a portion of the proceeds from today's event to an organization of the honoree's request. And this year, Richard has chosen the Centerville-Washington Foundation as his charity to donate to. Thanks to the generosity of today's donors, we are pleased to present a check to the Centerville-Washington Foundation for $8,000. We would also like to invite Eileen Carr to the front. Eileen, we recognize the commitment that you've made to our community and the instrumental role you have played in building the supportive and encouraging community of Centerville-Washington Township. Thank you, and we present you this nice flower bouquet.
I'm going to say thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here. I didn't know much about Centerville when I arrived, but Richard told me a lot, as you can imagine, and I've enjoyed a lot. And I just want to recognize not just my village mother, but my mom, who taught me what I needed to know. And that is Barbara Evans. Would you stand? And I would also like to acknowledge and thank another mother of mine, figuratively and lovingly, my Aunt Maureen, who also now lives in Centerville.
We have one more round of applause for Richard and Eileen Carr. Thank you. My term as president is quickly coming to a close. Actually, as of the end of today's meeting, my 2-year term as president has been fulfilled. This community has also been an important part of my life. I grew up in Centerville. My mom was a teacher here in the school district. Me and my 4 brothers are CHA grads. I do say that class of '88 was maybe the best class ever, but we might have some competition in that regard. Me and my wife chose to raise our family in this community. Have 2 sons and a daughter that are CHS grads. So the community has offered me and my family quite a bit. I'm proud of the organization's accomplishments over the last 2 years. We have achieved record levels of giving. You heard about our diversity grant was the first time this year. And this year we also launched the Brad Bucher Fund. Brad Bucher, Elk Pride Never Dies. It's a fund to pay for extracurricular activities for students in the district that otherwise, because of financial reasons, wouldn't be able to participate. Most importantly, I would like to thank our board. We have an incredible group of hardworking people that our community is fortunate to have helping. So thank you to all my fellow board members. And finally, I'd like to introduce you to the foundation's next president, Debbie Dawkins. Awesome. And I present the implement of your office, the gavel. You are now president to proceed.
Hot diggity. Thank you, Brendan, for your leadership of the foundation. We appreciate your dedication to furthering philanthropy in our community. Oh, man. And I won't be afraid to use it either. As we close today's event, let's think about what a founder is. It's someone who helps others and helps those around them serve as well. Let us stand once again and thank Richard for who he is and for all that he has done to make our community better, Thank you, Richard, and thank you for joining us today.